Welcome to Down the River Podcast, Episode 10. My name is Landon.
And this is Brent.
And today we are with S.E.A.T.S.
So we have Isaac and Tyler.
If you guys just want to give us a rundown of what you guys do at S.E.A.T.S, I mean, just hearing the name, I don't think a lot of people will know what you guys are.
Yeah, so we actually kind of came up with S.E.A.T.S from our names originally. The S is Saxtons. The E is Egbert, and then the A stands for Associates, and then TNS is Tactical Shooting. So altogether, that's Saxtons, Egbert, and Associates Tactical Shooting. Really, the idea kind of came to us on a night we were sitting around a fire. Tyler and I were kind of sitting there and talking about, what we needed around Fort Wayne, and so we kind of came up with the idea.
From there, we had Josh's younger brother join us. He was currently working overseas, and Isaac had discussed it with his brother Josh, and from there, S.E.A.T.S was born.
You guys are all Marines, correct? Or I didn't get the whole.
Yeah. So we all got out of the Marine Corps at different times, actually. Like Tyler just said, my brother Josh was actually on a security contract with another company. He was over in Afghanistan again, working on that. And so we were all kind of started tossing around this idea, and Josh texted me one day and said, let's do it. So we got our LLC started, and kind of haven't really looked back. I mean, we started out kind of slow, but we're trying to make this worth everybody's while. So
Just been kicking classes ever since. Training a lot, shooting a lot, teaching a little bit along the way.
Very cool. So what kind of classes do you guys offer?
So right now we offer everything from firearms beginner, so people who have never shot before, have a firearm, it's been sitting in a lockbox, all the way up to eventually we'd like to get to where we're teaching advanced close quarters combat techniques and everything in between. So that includes intermediate, where you learn how to draw from a holster and shoot, movement, everything from throughout the whole gambit of firing.
What were some of the learning experience that you guys had while making this where it is today, from the fireplace to where it is today? Was there any kind of learning curves, you don't have to go into details about
for us, one of the biggest learning curves has been how to present what we know as Marines to civilians. And I know a lot of people, it should be pretty easy. It's not. There's a language barrier there. Really is just, translating what we know to what everybody else knows. Acronyms are a big one. So many people don't understand acronyms. For us, it's just part of the job. So that's been a big deal. And really just kind of all the business aspects. I started getting my master's in business just to try to handle part of this, but so far, that's been my learning experiences.
The big takeaways that I've had from this business are, number one, handling of logistics. When you're in the military and you have an awesome range that costs probably tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, it's a luxury that you definitely don't fully appreciate when you're in the situation. But when you get out and you're trying to do something on your own and you don't have that luxury, it really puts into focus how good you had it in the military. Along with that, I'd say communication in another meaning. So Isaac was referring to communication between us and our students, or civilians as they're sometimes referred to by our S.E.A.T.S employees. But communication between me and the guys, there's misunderstandings through text or I'm trying to figure out, like, just tone of voice and everything like that. Things get lost in the translation. We all speak the same language, but maybe
just your guys' terminology.
Yeah, terminology or even intention behind what you're saying can get misconstrued, things like that. So it's something else that we're learning. We're still working on as a company to try to get that all hashed out. It's just an interesting dynamic, honestly. So we're still learning.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's learning what they're trying to do and everything. But yeah, that is interesting that you guys brought up the idea that come out of the military and then you go to teach these classes and you're like, oh, hold on, they don't know what this is. Let me break down what this actually means and everything. How do you feel that, like, the students and everything that you guys have been teaching has been, like, handling your guys' kind of transition into learning how to better teach it and their transition into actually learning?
So at the end of all of our classes, we actually give evaluation forms. Again, there was an example. We say eval when some people might not know what that means. So we give evaluation forms. And so far, we have had really good feedback from our evals, mostly in the field of safety. Like, obviously, if you have 6 to 10 people on a firing line who are not familiar with firearms, there's going to be some safety concerns. But so far, almost every one of our customers have told us that they're not only happy with how far we've gone with our safety procedures, but they're actually, like, they're above and beyond what our customers expected. So that right there kind of speaks for itself for us, that we're doing our job. We have people that have never used firearms before feel completely safe in the environment that we're placing them in. So that's huge. And also, they're learning a lot, and they're having a lot of fun. There's a negative connotation kind of right now associated with firearms. So what we try to do is familiarize them with it and get comfortable with that to try to eliminate that connotation. Once they get comfortable with it, then they can actually start to improve their shooting and things like that. And that's what we're starting to see with a lot of our customers.
And that's really important too, the safety aspect of it. So take us through your basic class. You get somebody who's never handled a firearm before. How do you get them familiar enough to be comfortable to actually go out and put some rounds downrange?
So I think that's actually one of the hard tasks we had to overcome. What we decided on and what so far has worked for us is we bring you in and we put you through death by PowerPoint. So we have about an hour-long PowerPoint class covering safety, the fundamentals, handling of firearms, the different parts of the firearm. We show you how to do things with the firearm, so how to handle it. Then afterwards, after we get done with the class, then we do our dry fire portion. So we actually run you through a weapons handling test. We split you up. Each one of our instructors takes, a couple students here, a couple students there, and then we run you through our handling test. That way we feel comfortable, and that way we know that you've learned what we've taught you. And then we do all of that before we go out to the range. Also in that, what we do is we teach you the fundamentals. So then we give you a firearm to handle, and we teach you pretty much dry fire, how to shoot it with no live ammunition. Once we're comfortable with that, then we get everybody outside. We go through our safety brief for the range. We don't do anything without a safety brief. And then we run through drills. Usually we do about a little shooting with just your coach, so your coach gets to take some time and just talk you through how to properly do everything, and then we might run you through some drills. But that's our basic class. And then of course after that we don't go as in depth with the safety things, just because now we know that you know them, we know that we've taught them to you. And then after that, but we do require, if you come through us, that you have to go through our basic class first before anything. That way we're all on the same page, and we know that nobody's going to make a mistake.
Our classes right now, how they're set up, they're all built to build on one another. So that's why we really hammer home the point that you really need to take the basic class before you advance, and you're not going to go from basic to advanced either. you have to build a solid foundation, and then from there work your way forward. That's why we need people to do the beginner class first. And like Isaac was saying, that's where we build a good understanding of, number one, safety, but also of your own firearm. As you advance, just learning different firearms, that's part of the more advanced stuff, because not every firearm operates the same. There's different mechanisms for all of it. They fit your hand differently. There's just a whole different dynamic that's introduced when you offer in different types of firearms. So that's why we really stress using one for a basic class, getting solid with it, getting familiar with it, and then advancing on from there.
Very cool. So what, do you guys have like a preferred range you use? I know you said coming out of the military, you dumped, you don't have that luxury.
Yeah.
So how does that look?
So right now, we've actually been kind of improvising. We've done a few classes for private groups, and they've allowed us to conduct the range on their personal property. We had a small pistol range that we were utilizing that's privately owned. We're actually in the process of working out an agreement between a range locally. I'm not going to list them by name, but we'll keep you guys informed on where that is. So right now we're trying to create something that is more consistent. But up until this point, it's been very inconsistent, and we've kind of been at the mercy of our customers and pretty much wherever we can find a range that suits the firearm that we're using. Because we don't just do pistol, we also do rifle. And obviously with a rifle, it makes it more complicated to find a proper range that you can fire safely.
Sure, because you need a different backstop.
Absolutely.
Different
range, exactly. Yeah. So we're working on getting a range consistently right now. That's actually one of the goals of our company. But right now we're kind of at the mercy of other people and other ranges. So, yep.
So that's one of the challenges that you guys have found so far.
That is a huge challenge that we've found so far.
So, the majority of the people, have they been cooperative? I'm assuming if they want to come to the course and they know that you're starting out, 9 times out of 10 are they say, hey, I got a buddy, or hey, you can use my property, or...
Yeah, for the most part, we haven't really had a problem with many people. I did get a phone call the other day of a guy that was pretty upset that we weren't affiliated with the NRA, or we didn't have a concealed carry like certification class that goes towards federal concealed carry. So that was one of the only times.
Have taken your class?
No, he's never even been to our class. And I.
Not very constructive criticism.
Yeah, and so that was an issue, and we all kind of were scratching our heads as to why he called up. But I did ask him to sign up for our class, and he actually went to our website and did that. So we're kind of looking forward to our next class. Maybe he shows up, but at the same time, I don't know if people are going to get that angry. I don't really want them to come to our class, right. Just because I don't want to teach somebody how to handle a firearm that has anger issues.
Yeah, that may not work.
It sounds like a bad combo.
Yeah. It seems like what you guys are doing too is like all the media and everything that they have about all that is like irrelevant for you guys, because what you guys are getting in is you're getting people that actually want to figure out how to handle guns, want to know how to keep them safe, want to know how to do all that, and you guys are providing all that information regardless of what media is saying and everything, which is it's a huge benefit, and I think a lot of people should definitely take advantage of it.
Yeah, so for us, that's really the big thing is, we're not going to tell you to go out and buy a firearm. What we will tell you is learn how to handle one, learn how to be safe with one. Exactly. If you come across one, what do you do with it? If there's a situation where you come in contact with a firearm, can you make it safe for everyone around you? And that's really the big thing is our basic class, and really our primary goal is safety always. So we're not going to sit here. We're not going to tell someone to go out and buy a gun. We're not going to tell you should own a gun. That's your choice. But what we will say is if you have a gun, get some training with it, even if it's not through us. Go out, get certified training, get someone who knows what they're doing. Don't go to Uncle Billy because he's had a gun his whole life. go to a company who can actually teach you how to use that firearm.
You guys laugh when you hear "Don't listen to Uncle Billy," but you'd be amazed how many people come out to our classes saying or claiming that they've shot for a decade or more, and they have absolutely no idea how to properly handle a firearm, flat or pointing a weapon in people's direction, claiming that it's unloaded, or just go look.
Worry, guys.
Yeah, just go look at
Yeah.
the internet, and you can look at any number of compilation videos of people thinking they knowing about firearms, and there's one of a guy shooting himself in the leg. There's a
gun.
There's a guy putting a round from a Magnum in the ceiling. There are videos all over the place from so-called professionals or experts that clearly don't have any idea what they're doing. So just because someone claims they've shot for a while does not in any way mean that they're experts.
Yeah, and I've been lucky enough to grow up around firearms pretty much my whole life. And I've had good training, do not point it at people. Here's how to safely handle a weapon. But I've also met people who, like you said, I've done this for a decade, I know more than you, and then they're clearly doing it wrong. And sometimes you just have to walk away and say, if you're going to do it that way, I'm just not going to be around you when you're doing it.
Here's my card.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I'm on the opposite spectrum. I've never owned a gun, but I've been shooting with you guys, and you guys are pretty much like, okay, you're pointing the gun down the range, you hand it to me, you say, okay, shoot it, and then put it down on the table facing the range, in which I was like, okay, yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm not going to...
And there's somebody standing behind you to make sure you don't turn around on us.
Yep.
But,
yeah, for the most part, that firearm, it's a tool. It's an inanimate object. It won't do anything unless you make it do that. And so I think that's there doesn't need to be a fear of firearms, but there needs to be a respect of them because they can be deadly if put in the wrong hands. And so we're just trying to kind of change the mindset of a lot of people. We have had teachers come through our classes, never had firearms, never wanted to have a firearm, and changed her mind at the end of it. She enjoyed herself, she loved it, went out with a smile. So like I said, we didn't expect her to go buy a firearm. We didn't tell her to. She really didn't say anything about buying one, but she definitely was a lot more comfortable and had a lot bigger respect for that firearm when she left. So,
well, even if you're not interested in self-defense or hunting, just sport shooting is a great pastime in itself. It's a good hobby. It teaches you self-discipline. You work on your hand-eye coordination, and it's fun. You get to hear things go ting when you hit them. It's a good time.
It's definitely, like you said, not just hunting, but it is a professional sport, like the quick shooters, and that's the peak of what these guys are teaching and everything. It takes a lot of time and a lot of training to get where the professionals are. Same thing with basketball, same thing with football. These professional shooters have taken practices. They've taken these beginner and intermediate courses, what these guys are teaching, and they've gotten to the point that they are now.
One of our favorite things so far, we've actually attracted law enforcement, and we have some instructors, some very seasoned instructors that are actually going to come start putting on classes with us. Like we said earlier, we're not going to say any names, but we are putting on some programs with them. And we're actually working on a range also through them to try to make this a lot bigger thing, because eventually we would like to be able to put on certified concealed carry classes for people. We would like to put on classes that you can come to a course and you can walk out knowing that it meant something, not just for safety reasons, but for those of you who want to do more with your firearms.
Get the 1,000-yard range going.
Yeah, well, we'd like to.
That happens. You'll never get me to leave.
Yeah. Well, that's. Eventually, that's kind of where we want to go with things. Is really have a plethora of training opportunities, whether it be first aid, whether it be survival, whether self-defense, because that goes. I would argue that goes hand in hand with firearms. Is because there needs to be that escalation of force of you don't just go straight to shooting someone, because that should always be the absolute last resort to anything. So I would argue that self-defense and defensive tactics really need to be a priority.
Yeah, I can definitely see what you guys are doing. I mean, you guys are just in the early interim period, but like your guys' slogan on your shirt says "Train to fight, fight to win." So yeah, I could see you guys going into other forms of defense or whatever, not just the shooting and everything, but like you said, all of the other kind of combat and stuff. Do you guys plan on going?
Yeah, I was gonna kind of go into that. So our end goal, or
because I think that would be cool.
Our dream is we want to eventually come up with a training facility. Okay, so we'll have our school, and then we'll have a range, and we'll offer, like he said, everything from firearms to basic survival skills, things like that. Any kind of training to further ready yourself for any kind of situation, whether that be first aid, CPR classes, stuff like that. We eventually want to have a training center where you can get one-stop shop for all that kind of stuff. So that's our end ultimate goal at this time.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. It just seems like a lot of people, they see a car crash and they don't even know to dial 911.
Yeah.
And you guys would be able to give them the confidence and the not let the distractions worry them.
Right, just the calm confidence, the clear head when something happens.
So I work in safety full time for a living. That's my daytime job. And like you guys were saying, you'd be amazed how when something happens, it's just like deer in the headlights. Yeah. People don't know what to do. That's why training is so important, because once you train enough, you don't even have to think. Your training just takes over, and your body almost goes on autopilot. It's kind of weird. But in order for you to get to that point, it requires, number one, the education on what to do, and then doing it over and over and over again. So that way when something does happen, you could kind of be in shock, but then you automatically go into response mode and you just start acting. And then once you come to, you realize what's going on. That's when your brain actually starts kicking in.
Endorphins,
yeah.
Adrenaline.
But to get to that point, like I said, it's knowledge first and then repetition. Yeah,
it's just building that muscle memory and the instinct.
I think that'd be pretty neat. I'd definitely go down there. Shoot, you guys get a gym and some taekwondo. I'll take some classes from you.
Well, that's the nice thing about some of the stuff we're doing. I've got, me personally, I've got 3 other brothers that were also Marines. Josh is one of them, and he's our business partner. I have a brother, Joel, that he was never in the Marines, but he's a Fort Wayne City police officer. And then I have 2 other brothers that are Marines. So for us, it's kind of, it's, I guess, in the family. But Josh and I are actually martial arts instructors, so we want to bring that to the table, is be able to pass on what we know to people. Tyler has a vast array of safety. He's got jungle survival training, the stuff that we're trying to bring to everybody, and make it safe and make it effective and fun. That's what we're really trying to do, because as of right now here in Fort Wayne, there's really just not a lot of options out there. So we're going to try to change that.
Yeah, you guys are definitely, when Brent brought you guys up, I knew that you were doing something, but I didn't know exactly what it was. And then Brent kind of gave me the rundown of what you guys were doing. It was like, oh yeah, I guess there really isn't anything, because I always just remember the hunting safety course down at the Poe Fire Station. That was the only time I've ever heard of anything like that. And then it's like, well, I guess I haven't really thought of it.
Well, it's funny you mention that, because I actually do that on the weekends with the conservation officers. I go around and I teach hunter education.
Awesome.
In my off time. So that's kind of been a thing. But I always go there. I represent S.E.A.T.S every time, just because I want them to know that I don't just walk up there not knowing what to do. So,
I got a question for you guys. So you seem pretty interested in this stuff. Does that mean you guys would maybe possibly like to come to a class or a range sometime?
I mean, I would. I mean, I've always been telling my girlfriend that I kind of want to a handgun just for personal training, but I definitely don't, or not personal training, just like personal protection. But I definitely do not feel at the level of where I should be. I mean, I'll go shooting with Brent, but I know he's right there making sure I do everything right, instructing me 2 steps before I actually do it. So yes, I would 100%.
That's one. So,
and I'm gonna say pass just because you asked me a question and we ask you questions.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it would be a great time, and I'm definitely, I can't wait.
All right. So that's 2 yeses. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
So-
well, then I guess.
So part 2 will have to come a little
Yeah,
bit this summer.
part 2. Yeah, I'd say later on this summer. Look forward to that, but that'll have to have some video to it because you can't just listen to some bangs and smiles.
Well, I mean,
Oh yeah. Well,
some
definitely.
people can.
Some
but
people can.
I think it may be down the river's time for some video.
We can definitely get the video on the Facebook and the YouTube and everything.
Yeah.
For anybody interested in finding you guys, where can they go to find you guys? I'm gonna have links in the descriptions of the YouTube video and then up in the title of the Facebook video. But where else can they find you guys?
So right now, like you said, we got a Facebook page, and we also have our web page, and we have an Instagram. So we're very accessible on social media, but we're also at S.E.A.T.S.com also. So, shootseats.com. Sorry, shootseats.com. And that's where actually you register for all of our classes and everything like that online also. So, and our numbers are on our Facebook page, I believe. So if anyone has any questions, they
When
can
you guys
contact.
business
Yeah.
cards, I'm gonna post it.
So if you
guys
have
are
any
listening to
questions,
this,
yeah.
check out the Instagram and Facebook post the day before. You'll see I'll have their cards on there in the picture.
Yeah, so even if you don't have any inclination of ever owning a firearm, this would be a great way for you to at least get familiar enough to be comfortable around them. So it's been great, guys. Thanks for
Thank
coming
you
on.
guys.
Thank you guys for having us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.